The Integrity Series, Episode 3, Forgiveness and Grace. There are many different aspects to growing and living by your integrity, by your values and ethics, by your character. It requires all of you, but it also requires you to be the best self you could put forward in every possible scenario imaginable, everyone that you face. We're all imperfect, but it's the effort to try and be as we say we are. Not don't do as I do as I say, but do as I do. Relationships are a massive component and often a very common place where we find expressions of our integrity, but also blind spots and maybe issues within. We grew up witnessing that. We've most likely done that ourselves. There can be blind spots here too, and there probably will be. Relationships are a great place to see where we compromise ourselves and our values. Peer pressure, wanting to be liked, fear of man, all of these sorts of things lead to compromising what's most important to us, pushing us to do that. Whether we give in or not is up to us, but these are all factors that drift us towards that direction. We've all been hurt by people, and we've also hurt people. But if we learn about these dynamics and what kind of came up for us at the time, we become better from that as well. We can start fixing the cracks within our character, within our integrity, within our values and ethics and how we show them. This episode is about forgiveness and grace. Now, forgiveness is a more common concept in general, particularly applying it to relationships. Forgiveness is required in friendship, in romantic relationships, in family relationships. Forgiveness will have to happen, because if it doesn't, ruptures happen in relationships. Relationships are powerful things whether they're healthy or not. They can do damage, but they can also build us up. Forgiveness is something that most people see as an outwards expression. Someone hurts you, they apologize, and you can decide whether to forgive them or not. This is something that we go through. We choose whether we're going to forgive or not. Now, people who don't have a good concept of this, people who look for leverage, who look for an advantage, who aren't looking at real forgiveness, they can use these things against you. These are expressions where you can say that you forgive the person, but if you're in an argument with them again, that gets brought up. That gets brought up as leverage in order to manipulate, in order to control, or in order to win the argument. But ultimately, it's a manipulation tactic. Forgiveness is, I forgive you for what you've done. Now, powerful forgiveness is to forgive someone when they haven't asked for forgiveness, when they haven't said sorry. That's very powerful, but that requires grace, and that's where I'm going with this very shortly. But forgiveness in general is tricky, especially when it hurt us deeply. But in order to grow in our integrity and how we express that, forgiveness is required. Forgiveness is a massive part of this. Forgiveness is something that will have to happen. We'll have to forgive those who hurt us. We'll have to forgive those who did it on purpose and did it on accident. Those who had no idea what they were doing, but it ended up with you being hurt. This is often something that we're never really taught to do, is to forgive someone. Being taught how to forgive someone. We've probably been told to forgive someone or say sorry or anything like that when we were a kid, but to do it, it's tricky. There's often not a formula for this. There's often not a formula for forgiving someone because every situation is different. Is this person genuinely sorry? Are they just going to do it again? What was the actual thing that they did? Is it something that is very difficult to forgive? But one thing I think is really important with forgiveness is that the incredible good it does to forgive someone because it frees you. It frees you from holding on to hurt. It frees you from holding on to pain that is only creating deeper wounds within you. Deeper wounds that drag you down. It's putting a hole in your ship. Holding on to unforgiveness sinks you faster. And it makes sense because we're dragging pain with us. We're dragging that to every situation. It's a tough thing to do. And it makes sense why it hurts us so much and why it's hard to let go of. Because that's an example of why you, quote unquote, shouldn't trust someone or shouldn't be in a relationship or shouldn't share with family. Whatever the vehicle was for being hurt, it's proof why you shouldn't be open and be vulnerable. But forgiveness is required. Now, I think something people forget about is that forgiveness doesn't mean that you just go back to the exact same dynamic and situation in person. It can, definitely. It can be forgiving someone and moving on. However, it can be forgiving someone, but also when that person has shown you what they're doing and they've done it before and they'll do it again, that you can go, I forgive you, but I'm good now. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to be in this situation again. I'll be fine with you. However, I'm not going to seek this out because I don't like that this is a dynamic that comes up. That's okay too, but forgiveness is important. You can forgive someone, but also not want to put yourself in that exact situation with that person again. That's okay as well. But there'll be times and situations and dynamics and people in those nuanced ways where, yes, I trust them. They've made amends and we're going to do better. There is one thing about forgiveness, though, that is very tricky, and it's easily my personal hardest thing to do, is forgiving yourself. Self-forgiveness is tough. That one is very tricky. That also requires grace, because I'm not sure about you, but for myself, I can often forgive other people who genuinely are sorry, who genuinely ask for forgiveness or say sorry, etc. But when it comes to me, I find it trickier. I have to work at it. I want to get better at that. And that's something that would be very valuable for you and for anyone who wants to grow in this way, is learn how to forgive yourself. It's the reminder that you're a person too, and you mess up and you get it wrong and you make mistakes. You know your intention. You know what you're meaning. You know what's going on behind the scenes when you say or do something. In this situation, you mess up. If you're the same level of being genuine and apologetic and, sorry, wanting to make amends, wanting to make things better, it'd be great to acknowledge all these things and give yourself the same courtesy you give others. You're on the ground floor with you. You know what's going on. You know everything behind the scenes. But you also know whether you're full of it or not. And maybe you are. Maybe you go, yeah, all right, I know I'm just sad right now and I want to change my life and be a new person, but I know I'm going to go back to it tomorrow. That's different. But if you know that you're being genuine, you can give yourself that same courtesy you give others. And it's what you deserve and it's what they deserve. It's tough because I think largely it comes in with, I should know better. I should do better. I talk about this all the time. I should do better. I shouldn't have made that mistake. Those sorts of things where we shouldn't have let it get that far. We should have snuffed that out. We should have anticipated better. Forgiveness and self-forgiveness are a key part of your integrity, values, and character. If you hold on to unforgiveness for yourself or for others, it eats you up. It drags you down. It makes you bitter and sad, scared, fearful, paranoid, because you're looking and waiting for someone else to hurt you. You're waiting for something else to go wrong, for this bias of pain and heartbreak to come true again. This is a necessary and required step in building your integrity and character so you can act from there consistently. So you can take it into every situation and environment and dynamic. But it's not an easy one to do, to forgive others and to forgive ourselves completely. Some people do it with strings attached. That's not real forgiveness. Some people do it but hold on to it until they can use it against them. That's not real forgiveness. Some people think that others are worthy of forgiveness, but not themselves. That's a wound that we need to figure out too. Why are you special, quote unquote, special enough to not be forgiven, but anyone else is able to? What makes you so low on the totem pole? Now, the big one in this step, and the most important, is grace. Grace is beautiful. Grace is hard. It's tough. Grace is something that I don't see many people talk about because it's more foreign. It's more of a foreign concept, is grace, because it's so unconditional. It's so unconditional. Forgiveness is listed throughout this step, but grace is the blanket that extinguishes so much pain and wrong, so much hurt and fear. Grace is required to grow quicker, stronger. Grace is, I guess, the adhesive that fixes the cracks in you, in the way you do things, in the way you think and act about things. It's what keeps things together. Grace and love, that's what that is. The grace to be wrong, the grace to forgive ourselves, the grace to forgive others, the grace to forgive those who hurt us. That's tough. Grace is a decision along with forgiveness. It's a decision to forgive someone. It's a decision to forgive yourself. Grace is something that if we can apply that to us, that we're able to make mistakes, that we're able to get things wrong, but we're giving ourselves the ability and the space to be able to make things right, to be better for us and for others. That's powerful, but it is tricky and it is tough to allow an opportunity when on paper, you may not deserve it. On paper, you may not deserve it. And on paper, they may not deserve it. Grace is something that allows healing to come in, allows healing to happen, for relationships to mend, for our opinion of ourselves to grow and change. It can help repair trust in ourselves and in others. But grace is also part of our character and integrity. That's something that probably hasn't had a lot of breathing room compared to others, but that is something that if we can make that part of our values and integrity, there's a strength to that. There's a kindness, a joy, a community aspect to that, because you would want to be a part of a community where you're allowed to get things wrong. You try your best, but you're able to get things wrong, and people will give you the grace to try again, and vice versa. Now, whether that's a community of 2, whether that's a community of 1 or 100, it doesn't really matter. But if grace can come into it, that's huge. That's very powerful. Grace is godly. Grace is something that's talked about in the Bible. Grace is something that Jesus exemplified, that he modeled. And if we're created in God's image, then this is something that we are capable of doing and having. Regardless of whether you're a Christian or not, this is modeled perfectly in the Bible. And this is also something that you have access to, is grace. I've met people who are very gracious, are very loving unconditionally. And that's the part to this that I think walks hand in hand with grace, is the unconditionality of it. And this is something that people have access to, but they do it unconditionally. You can give people the grace of a situation. You can give people the grace to be wrong, to give things a go, to try again. You can give yourself the same. Not to allow, not to pretend doesn't exist, to sweep under the rug. That's not grace. That's avoidance. But grace repairs, grace heals, and grace grows. Grace strengthens. It walks hand in hand with forgiveness also, because it requires grace. Forgiveness requires grace. It may not be the perfect embodiment of it, but it does require it to an extent. If your integrity is something that you want to grow and you want to act from, grace is required in it, because you will have to show it to others and you'll have to show it to yourself. It is not to be a doormat. It is not to be anything like that to disempower you. It is something that is powerful because you have the ability to show grace. You have the ability to do that for yourself and to others. And it's something that if that can be part of you, it's beautiful. And it's something that can just grow you as a person And not only you as a person in your eyes, but in the eyes of others too. There's a couple of people in my life that really embody grace. That's my mum and my wife. The grace that they show to me, the grace that they show to my kids, the grace that they show to others is powerful. It goes a long way. It means a lot to me. And it's something that I think I'm all right at. I think I'm pretty good at. But I could definitely learn stuff from them and the way they yield it. Choose grace over performance, grace over perfection, whether it's yours or whether it's someone else's. Grace repairs. Grace fixes things for you and for others and for your relationships. And relationships are going to be part of this. Relationships are part of you're expressing your integrity, you're expressing your values and character because you run into people. You're not the only person. So this is something that if we can show that to others and to ourselves, there will be such growth because you'll be showing grace to others, even when it's not deserved. The unconditionality of it all is something that you can take a hold of, that you can freely give it to someone because of who you are, not because of who they are, not because of what they've done, but because of who you are at your core and where you're operating from. With all of these pieces together, your core, your anchor, your character, your integrity will be able to speak through all these situations, and it will empower you more to see that this is you. This is you as a person. This is who you are. And this is what you can do in your life for yourself and for others, and how powerful that will be. It's a beautiful thing. That was episode 3 of the Integrity series. I hope you enjoyed it. If I look tired, it's because I am. It is late, and I'm finishing this episode, and I hope you liked it. Check out my links, check out my episodes, see what you like. There's lots there. All the best. Take care.